So no agreement with the EU, but
every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought a very family.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
But I remain committed to the United Kingdom leaving.
Since I became Prime Minister, I've said we must get on and get Brexit done on October the 31st so that this country can move on.
Sir, my amendment is that Mr. President should be invited to come and explain the situation.
For the Nigerian government to stop killing its people and
But I remain committed to the United Kingdom leaving.
Since I became Prime Minister, I've said we must get on and get Brexit done on October the 31st so that this country can move on.
Sir, my amendment is that Mr. President should be invited to come and explain the situation.
for the Nigerian government to stop killing its people and
But I remain committed to the United Kingdom leaving.
Since I became Prime Minister, I've said we must get on and get Brexit done on October the 31st so that this country can move on.
Sir, my amendment is that Mr. President should be invited to come and explain the situation.
for the Nigerian government to stop killing its people and
Meet the people making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194, ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook, Atlantic Television.
But I remain committed to the United Kingdom leaving.
Since I became Prime Minister, I've said we must get on and get Brexit done on October the 31st so that this country can move on.
Sir, my amendment is that Mr. President should be invited to come and explain the situation.
for the Nigerian government to stop killing its people and
But I remain committed to the United Kingdom leaving.
Since I became Prime Minister, I've said we must get on and get Brexit done on October the 31st so that this country can move on.
Sir, my amendment is that Mr. President should be invited to come and explain the situation.
for the Nigerian government to stop killing its people and
But I remain committed to the United Kingdom leaving.
Since I became Prime Minister, I've said we must get on and get Brexit done on October the 31st so that this country can move on.
Sir, my amendment is that Mr. President should be invited to come and explain the situation.
for the Nigerian government to stop killing its people and
But I remain committed to the United Kingdom leaving.
Since I became Prime Minister, I've said we must get on and get Brexit done on October the 31st so that this country can move on.
Sir, my amendment is that Mr. President should be invited to come and explain the situation.
For the Nigerian government to stop killing its people and
Great morning to you. Thank you for joining me today. One thing that has been on the front burner right now in Nigeria's media, it's the issue that had to do with insecurity. And we know that the president was in Liberia to celebrate the 157th anniversary in Liberia. And he spoke on security matters. And we know he's back to Nigeria. Late last night, we had information that he's back to Nigeria. And he taught on security. And so many reactions really erupted from the issues and the statement he made on security matters today. Well, that's going to be one of our talking points this morning on Open Conversation. Meanwhile, thank you for joining me today. This is Open Conversation on a Wednesday, which is the 27th of July, 2022, on Atlantic Television Network. It's our flagship network's political platform through which trending political news, events, and stories are discussed with stakeholders, and through this, you make informed decision today. Meanwhile, we're going to really thank you so much for joining us this morning. And first on our lineup is 2023 elections. I am committed to free, fair, transparent, acceptable elections. Buhari says that, and he made that speech saying that West Africa needs a credible elections. But another question is, will the security situation allow for a credible elections? We know that the security situation is biting hard on Nigeria's security apparatus. Well, that's one issue really garnering so much support. Meanwhile, yesterday we had the solidarity protest that took place around the nation, Nigeria, and it's one that is making the buzz. It's a warning strike action that NLC and various labor unions embarked upon. And yesterday we had a live feed from the protest venue in Port Harcourt here, and we had also some people from Lagos. We had live feed from Lagos. We had a correspondent beaming live from Lagos. But that's one thing that took place. Another thing that erupted from this is the Speaker of the Federal House of Assembly, the Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila. He was attending a leadership summit in Harvard, and people were saying that we have educational situation here in Nigeria, and here is the speaker attending one leadership summit. Not happy with that situation. That's one hand we're going to discuss. And the third matter going to be discussed this morning, it has to do with the issues about the Christian leaders in the north supporting a Muslim tickets. Well, that's one thing really going to be having a lot of talking points this morning, and we'll see how that will unfold. It has been an issue since the issues really took place today. Next is on our agenda is 2023 elections, reps to bar CBN chiefs from politics. That's one issue that we're going to handle today, this morning. At this point in time, we'll take a break. When we'll come back, we'll introduce our guest, give it a breakdown of the issues, and go into our talking point this morning. Stay with us. This is Open Conversation.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election here? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, Channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Elections 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake.
But I remain committed to the United Kingdom leaving.
Since I became Prime Minister, I've said we must get on and get Brexit done on October the 31st so that this country can move on.
Sir, my amendment is that Mr. President should be invited to come and explain the situation.
For the Nigerian government to stop killing its people and let
Great to have you join me back on Open Conversation. I am Namdi. Namdi Zuko is my name, and I'd like to move on now with the issue on ground, which is the first making the rounds today. Is the statement made by President Muhammadu Buhari at Liberia. We already know he's back to Liberia, but some of the things he said really created a lot of reactions today on Twitter and several social media handles. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday in Monrovia, Liberia, said his administration was committed towards ensuring a free, fair, transparent and acceptable elections in 2023. The president also called on leaders in West Africa to do all within their powers to ensure that elections are conducted in their countries in an atmosphere of trust, freedom and transparency, delivering a goodwill message to the government and people of Liberia as he joined all the world leaders on the occasion of the 175th independence anniversary of the West African nation. President Muhammadu Buhari said a free, fair and credible elections is the only way the sub-region can be insulated from the surge of unconstitutional takeovers that reared its head in three countries recently. All the three nations have national elections in 2023. In Nigeria, we are working towards a free, fair, transparent, credible and acceptable outcome of elections and their results. It is important and necessary for all our countries to key into these resolves as they are indispensable to peace and stability in our country and sub-region. The deepening of democracy and good governance are essential antidotes to checkmate unconstitutional change of government, as we sadly witnessed within the last 3 years in 3 countries within our sub-region. I'm quoting the president again. He says, "We must strengthen our efforts to guarantee the irreversibility of democracy in our sub-region and Africa," he said. Now, that's just some chunks of the speech made by President Muhammadu Buhari in Liberia, Monrovia. We already know he's back to Nigeria. And those are his statements. So joining me to do justice to it and serious issues affecting our nation's landscape is...
Yes, seen from what is on ground, Nigeria seems to be awakened by the fact that a free, fair and transparent election is the panacea to development. And of course, when you reflect on these concepts, you will trace it back to one fundamental issue. And that issue is what? Democracy, which was imposed on us. What kind of democracy is that? Liberal democracy, as against social democracy. In other words, capitalist democracy as against socialist democracy. And what does that mean? Yes, in liberal democracy, which is the strongholds of the West, yeah, development is tied to democracy. And the kind of democracy is, yes, you make the people participate. It must be participatory, free press, and the judiciary, and all that. Now, when you now come to the point of economic participation, all those democratization processes should lead to economic production. And now when you now say distribute those economic, so that as people participated in bringing about the democracy, they will also benefit from the economic product of the liberal Democrats. Will bring the 5 fingers for you and tell you that you see your fingers, are they equal? Therefore, that is how the economic distribution will not be equal. Let those who have the opportunities and the capabilities begin to gain, while those who may not recede. That is the product. That is what people are not made to know. This liberal democracy, so far as, or capitalist democracy, so far as we practice it, we continue to engender the corruption, inequality, economic problems, privatization, and all that.
So you see that's what Nigeria is practicing currently.
Of course, of course. You know that democracy started from Greece, and he said every person is all participatory in those who, by their age or capacity, can contribute, suggest, and all that, and it is always done. But now, America and the West changed that to representative democracy. So it is not as original as that of Greece. Now, from the representative democracy, we now came to liberal democracy. And all the characterization or all the features which I've mentioned here are the character of a liberal democracy, otherwise called capitalist democracy.
So with all your explanations right now,
yes,
how will these affect the country's elections in 2023?
Yes.
And if it's going to affect it positively or negatively?
I am coming to that. Now, when you now say Buhari said this in Liberia, yes, you know that Nigeria during the First Republic practiced parliamentary system of government, where the parliament is sovereign, more powerful than the executive. But the presidential system of government, as imposed in 1979, very expensive, and Nigerians are yet to understand the rigor of presidential democracy. And what are we saying about? What are we talking about? Therefore, when the world launched national international order, it made democracy a necessity. For you to receive any aid from the developed countries, you must be democratic. You must be democratic. And this was a sine qua non for aids to African continent. So Nigeria, as one of the most developing third world country then, was pointed as a leader in which the development and democratization in West Africa can be measured. That if Nigeria gets it right, then all others will follow. Therefore, I see the statement of the president in Liberia were two ways as an assurance, not to Nigerians themselves, but to those who, the Esau, who are not seeing, who are pressuring, who are pushing, that this system of government should be in place so that we will continue to bring in, so that you will be in line with the liberal democracy that may not also bring the economic benefit to all. So he was assuring them that yes, he's still on course. Example is the Anambra, Ekiti, and Osun. Yes, and we are going to continue with this in 2023.
So now look at the security situation we have in Nigeria.
Yes.
Most people are actually worried about the security situation, whereby we had issues with insecurity matters in the north. and also some in part of the West also. Remember the killings
in Owo.
On Owo.
Yes.
Now, another one also, we have the issues taking place in the Southeast also.
Yes.
So with all the security situations and it threatening the coexistence of Nigeria today, do you think that these situations can allow for a free, fair, and transparent elections come 2023?
Well, that is our concern. Nigeria, you know, Nigerians are people for the moment. I also they all jumped in praises. Yes, if this is this will be that. They forget so soon that Osun is just a small state, and it was isolated. And if we say security-wise, IG said he sent in 20-something thousand policemen. Civil defense said they sent in some thousands of civil defense corps members and DSS and all that, only for a small district. Will it be same for 2023 general election, where about 27 states will participate? It won't be the same. So the lapses we used to know before, we rear it ugly head. This is true. Then on security, we are not, it's not to say that some people, we are all in trouble. Insecurity started for a very long time, attributed it to the administration on seat, but it has gone past that. Now, even if Buhari leaves now and another person comes in, it will continue. Why? Because a lot of laxity from people who are responsible taking place. Why is it very difficult for Nigeria to now ask for international peace enforcement in Nigeria to take over this?
Why should Nigeria do that? We call ourselves
because
the giant of Africa. That's one. And number two, again, Nigeria's the military forces, when they go for courses outside the country, they perform very well. So why should we be looking for mercenaries from a foreign land to come, rescue us?
The United Nations set up, a United Nations force is not a mercenary. It's to rescue the country. The politics in Nigeria is too much about insecurity. Take time to ask those of the contingents that are in the north when they return. You will see that the politics is just too much. You will recall during Jonathan's regime, when he appointed General Iyejirika as the chief of army staff, and they took up this matter to face the issue. Some people from the north said they will take Jonathan and Iyejirika to international ICJ or ICC, International Criminal Court then. Where are they now? Where are those people? You see the politics. Discuss with any of the survival contingent that went up there. It will tell you, people are given unserviceable weapon to go and fight a well-equipped insurgent. And maybe even when they are successful, at the throw of decimating these people, they will hear phone call. Recede. Retreat. These are issues. They are not hidden. It is in the public space. Politics have entered into this.
Are you saying that the security apparatus of Nigeria has been sabotaged?
Sabotaged. The sabotage in it is more. To the extent that even when the people raise complaint, the soldiers raised the complaint that they want to, this is what is happening. They are court-martialed. I don't understand. They are court-martialed. So you see the politics in it will not allow this thing go. Therefore, it is endangering the 2023 general election, because where there is insecurity, people will not come to vote now. And the police, the army, will not be there alone to wage the surging team. So it is important that a lot of things be done. A surgical operation of the security situation has to be done. They have to go down. There is a national security advisor. There is a national security, there is a chief of defense staff, there is a chief of army staff, and you know, at recent past, we are crying that unless this chief of staff, army, navy, and all of them are changed, that things may not, that immediately they are changed, things will work. But they changed them a brutal set. They were all changed now, and yet the situation continued. So there is something fundamentally wrong. And the warning is that if these things are not checked, if the solution is not brought as quickly as possible, it will negatively affect the 2023 general election.
All right, so if you just join us, this is open conversation and we're keeping it very open. We're examining and taking an x-ray of the speech made by the President of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, in Monrovia, Liberia, saying he's committed to a free, fair, and transparent election come 2023. And these are the situations we've been discussing. And I've been joined by Dr. Ikiri Abraham Joe, political scientist and also legal practitioner here in Nigeria. Also, I'd like to also welcome to joining us today a political observer and analyst, national coordinator, Polish of Nigeria, a blockchain analyst, and a DEFI promoter, a human capital developer, and an entrepreneurial development also coach. Is also lover of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'd like to welcome James Hugh Hansen. Good morning to you and thank you for joining me. All right. Well, these are the issues on ground today. And James, it's been an issue really affecting Nigeria. 2023 election, the president said he's committed to a free, fair, and transparent election. Most people said he's talking on the heels of the just concluded Oshu election, that he really didn't interfere. But we know that there are some issues of vote buying, and which reared its ugly head in the situation. Some people say that the highest bidder carried the day in Oshu election. What do you make of the president's speech in Monrovia saying he's committed to a free, fair, transparent, and acceptable election in 2023?
Well, his journey to Monrovia is like an ambassador of Nigeria right there in Monrovia. I'm trying to speak the voices of Nigeria in terms of being committed to that fair and free election. Well, he has to say that in order to give, a democratic view, a more of democratic view to his own government over here in Nigeria. But one thing is that just like the issue of, I just met him on the ground, my colleague here talking about the issue of insecurity. It's very key. As a matter of fact, it's a paramount thing. Look at our security architecture. What has happened to it over the years since 2015 and so on? They have promised us that within the shortest period of time, the issue of Boko Haram will become a thing of the past. But Boko Haram subsisting up to now, then upon it, the unknown government, very soon maybe they will bring another language as the known government. The known government are going to have wings, probably. They are also talking about the issue of the Hausa Fulani, herdsmen clash and so on. These are issues of insecurity that in the country. So him having said that he's committed to a fair and free election in Nigeria, what has he done about the security architecture of Nigeria?
So are you saying that he should first of all handle security issues before he says the statement?
Very paramount, because one, you talk about when he assumed office, he swore to an oath, promising to uphold the sanctity of life and the protection of property. That means every primary responsibility of any government is what? The protection of lives and property. And if that is not being done, now of course it's not visible within what we are seeing today, then how would you want to conduct governmental affairs in an insecure state? It is going to affect the outcomes of the election. The fear will be the minds of the people. Of course, we are seeing that now, even that the current insecurity that is going on in the country has been taken to the capital of Nigeria. So, if, of course, you also had very clearly that these people had promised or had threatened that they would also, kidnap their own president and kidnap also El-Rufai. So these are the key men in this government. So if that threat had been issued to them as number one citizen, and number one citizen of other states, and so forth, then what happened to the ordinary man? So the issue of security will be taken into cognizance. Now, I want to say again that the issue of going to conduct just a state election, and then as a result of that, claiming that there was no interference, that was why the opposition was able to overthrow or maybe win the incumbent. It's not sufficient, because talking about general election is different from individual or mono-state election. It's different, somewhat different. The whole scenario is going to change. Now, the number of men, the security men you mobilize for the conduct of the election are going to be depleted when it's going to be a much larger number of states that are going to be involved in the election. So these are the issues. So the issue of even the issue of that election, we have issues that are arising from the issue of the device, the machine. These are the critical things that you should be able to sit down, look at it, and see how they can be rightly effected. And so that when you talk about free and fair election, it will be non-governmental, non-institutional, and non-individual interferences.
All right. Well, this is still open conversation, and at this point we'll be moving over now to the next situation on ground, which is going to be our talking point. This is the state of the nation. Nigerians react as Gbajabiamila attends U.S. varsity amid ASU strike, NLC protest. Now, some Nigerians on Twitter Tuesday expressed displeasure as the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, resumed in a university in the United States of America despite the lingering strike action by the Academic Staff Union of Universities. ATN reports that academic activities in the government-owned universities have been put on hold in the country since lecturers boycotted classrooms since February 14th. Now, in a development to rally support for the striking lecturers, the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) began a two-day protest across the country over the failure of the federal government to meet the demands of the union. Gbajabiamila had on Tuesday tweeted via his verified Twitter handle, saying that he had gone back to the Harvard Kennedy School, back to class in a leadership course at Harvard University, as he says. Now, forget the number of gray hairs. One is never too old to learn. Reacting to his post, Nigerians expressed displeasure, anger, and frustrations at Gbajabiamila seen in a post with a white man in one of the photos posted alongside the tweets. Now, he says, some of the reactions says, they keep showing us they don't give rats about the masses, even in the midst of campaigning for Tinubu. You would think Gbajabiamila would see this as insensitive, but you would be kidding if you think they care. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. Now, another tweet says that laughs leadership course. Indeed, if someone has to teach us about leadership, my guy, you will fail. Well, that's another issue. On the other hand, another tweet says that these people are stylishly telling us that they don't care for us, meaning we have to fight for our rights. Meanwhile, we also learned that it was the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Ahmed Idris Wase, that presided over the House in a plenary session on Tuesday, which was yesterday. Gentlemen, this is an issue creating a lot of buzz, first of all, and the ASU strike actually has been lingering. Now, another height of it was the protest taken yesterday. We had live feeds. It was around the nation, Nigeria, that the protest took place. First of all, Dr. Joey Kiri, tell me first, what do you think, before we go to Femi Gbajabiamila's, these reactions being taken by Nigerians on the Twitter handle, what do you make of it?
Well, first of all, the Nigerian environment is tensed up. People now react, whether they have information or not. The first information was, oh, Mr. Gbajabiamila is now a student. He has resumed full-time scholarship in Harvard University. Happily enough, we now know that that is not true. He is only there for a leadership program that school promotes every year. And sometimes he's even on scholarship. I know that there was a time I was nominated to attend one of those, but it was reversed. So Nigerians reacting. Well, the situation, the environment is tensed up. Now, on the issue of abandoning Nigerian university to attending another one, the issue has always been there. It was just like, it's like saying, why did Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe travel to study political science in Pennsylvania University, University in the United States, and abandoned the universities here? Why not fight for university to be established so that he will go? No, it has always been like that. But for me, what is very germane is that the ASU strike, which has come to us now as a debacle, has not been taken seriously. One, you will recall that in September 3, 1992, an agreement was reached between ASU and federal government after a 4-month strike. You will also recall that at a time, around 1996, the federal government set up the late Justice Kayode Esho panel on one side, and the late His Majesty, the then Sultan of Sokoto, Ibrahim Dasuki, like traditional rulers, that they should also look into this ASU problem. That the ASU problem has become a monster that crops its head when it comes, and the demand has always been rotating. That time they were asking for university autonomy and salary and all that. When these agreements were reached, we thought that would be the end of ASU strike in this country. For me, they have to cleanse the audience table. This ASU strike is lingering for too long. The thing seems to be one-sided. Okay. One, ASU strike. Who employs ASU? Who pays them? To the extent that ASU is talking about condition of service, so was there no condition of service? Now, here in Nigeria, not that we don't have Nigerian universities, we do. We also have professors, qualified professors in there. There are serious ones, like some of them, what is now called from strike to stroke. Many of them are dying. These 4 months, when they come out seriously to count the number of professors who have lost during this strike for not being active, you will marvel. That is the disadvantage of prolonged strike. Now, it's not only the students that this strike is affecting. It is also affecting those who have concluded their academic program, want to take at least a document to show that they have done it. They cannot. They don't have access to the universities.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kiri. But I would like to halt you here at this point in time. James Hugh Hansen. Now, the issue of ground has to do with the Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila. Now, my question to you is, this time, we know it's not wrong, according to Dr. Kiri, for him to really gain some level of additional knowledge when it comes to leadership right now in the country. Well, some people are saying that it is not the time he should have done this, not at this space of time where ASU is heavily on strike at this time. Do you think there will be any better time for him to have done this other than now? And now him taking to his Twitter saying he has done this, is he trying to mock the educational system in Nigeria?
Well, you see, time and chance happen to them all. There's a time for everything. That chance comes about opportunity. Some opportunities, there are multiplex opportunities that come to human. The ability to gather to grab it is important. So if I look at it from that front, and then I will now look at the right opinion of the people, the public opinion. Public opinion is in terms of morality. You see, when the conduct of a particular government affects a greater majority segment of society, then it becomes a public issue. Public policy is directed towards public problems, to solving public problems. Now, as a leader, it would be expected of him to demonstrate positive leadership by example, leadership of light. Now, having given the kind of the whole value that's existing now in our academic system, particularly, I think that strike began, I think, 14th of February. It was the day of love all over the world. But what Nigeria began to experience was educational bitterness. You can imagine that, okay? You can imagine that. And then, from that moment in now, having spent a very long time like this in a strike, it will not be morally right for a leader to also go into the same cycle. Of course, what you shut down in your own space, now to go to another space to obtain the same thing. Why? Because the educational system here, of course, just like you mentioned, it's not only affecting the lecturers, it's not affecting only the students, it's also affecting the lecturers. But I want to also add, beyond the students, beyond the lecturers, we are now already degenerating our national educational assets. Why? Because our education will actually determine the level of our technological progress, the level of every other pillars of society. Talk about whether it is religious pillar, whether it's economic pillar, whether it is the social, cultural pillars, all the facets of the society will be affected. And so if the educational sector is being shut down from the university level or the tertiary level, you could now see that everything going to be in a slow pace. And Nigeria will suffer this loss in the next 3 4 years. I remember that there was a chronicling of facts that if they calculated the whole number of years that ASU had gone on strike, that it was almost 4 years. That means a whole graduation term or period had been lost already in strike. Manpower lost. Just like saying that professor are moved from strike to stroke. Okay, what happened to the students? Well, if you are not within a cycle, there's a tendency that there will be degeneration.
So you say that it's wrong for him to have done this?
I say morally, for the public opinion, yes, morally it is wrong.
Morally wrong.
But I had also said, that's why I used that time and chance happen to them all. Now, because that opportunity may not easily repeat itself when it's in this valuable position, therefore he has to catch up with it. That's the angle I could say that they should, consider that one for you to catch up with the opportunity to go ahead.
Okay, hold on. Okay, go ahead, sir.
But one can also use this unique opportunity to also advise the Nigerian public to temper their reaction to things. If Bajamila don't travel, will the situation, if it's in Nigeria, will the situation be solved immediately? It will not. Now, perhaps the idea he may bring from that leadership district will not help. But for me, I will say that Nigeria, especially this administration and all other, should now learn that because of the lingering ASU strike, they should set up a standing committee, could be from the traditional rulers, from the judiciary, or from the religious angle. let them look constantly on this ASU problem so that our educational system will not be too grossly affected. Do you know that Nigeria used to have this program, Technical Aid Corps, where we give our own products, people who had no job here, who are graduates of all facets of life, to other countries, even up to Asian, Caribbean, and Pacific countries. We used to send, but you cannot, they reject. And that program is dying now. To the extent that even Benin Republic here have rejected our products. And we now see that builders from Benin Republic are building houses for us.
So, but some people have said that he ought to be in solidarity with the issues happening, since he's part of those who are making laws, and he's the speaker. So why should you be taking to your Twitter handle telling us that you are attending a course in one of the best universities in the world?
Well, my reaction to it is that I am not in his Twitter friendship, and I don't know, but it could be that he sent to his friend that, look, oh, I'm not in the country now, and these people decided to wreck him down and spread it and turn the language.
Okay,
I read it
as a public person.
Yes.
Know that you don't have greater percentage of your individual life lived without being observed. And if he wants to run such on a private note, that could as well be done on a WhatsApp group. But for you to put it on Twitter, it has already been globalized. And that we are now seeing that action as contradicting what is on the ground. That means it's a mockery. And it's an insult to the sensibilities of the people that have been affected. That's how they are reacting. So they have a right. But that's why I want to keep a balance. But one thing I want to say, using this opportunity, is that the Nigerian educational sector should be declared a state of emergency first. Because if any government should come and, like now the politicians are now trying to, run around all the corners asking for people's support and so forth. Education priority number 1, education priority number 2, education priority number 3. And therefore declare emergency in the educational sector. We need to have a redefinition of our educational system. Now, you see what I keep telling people, if you have your PhD today, a doctor in a particular field, you discover that somebody who is doing self-development in other field, the issue of technology, advancement, the issue of artificial intelligence, the issue of machine learning has come up. And you discover that there are other developments that are coming in those areas. And then you that have a PhD, maybe theoretical on those fields, you no longer become relevant. So there's the need for actual modification, looking into our educational system and design the system. I'm one of the persons that are advocating that even our universities can be run without government subvention. Universities should be allowed to run on a profit basis. On a profit basis. And what the university should be taxed. What the government should do to the universities should tax them, or the Chinese institutions should tax them. They can run them independently and become more profitable, because if it's technologically driven and if more so it is result oriented, and if all their training, so the university can run training programs. I had also always been, you talk about, you introduced me part of the blockchain analyst, I had always been of the opinion, I put across that no university in Nigeria is talking about blockchain. Blockchain has come to stay. For example, all right. Well, yes, all these things are part of the things that will boost our educational system.
We'll come to that somehow later. So if you're joining us, this is Open Conversation, and we're discussing along the lines with the issues erupted on Twitter by the Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, who took to his Twitter handle saying he's attending some courses in Harvard University. Well, that's another matter on the other ground. We'll see how things will also unfold as we move over to the next thing we have, which is towards 2023. Northern Christian leaders back Muslim ticket. Christian leaders in the North have thrown their weight behind the Muslim ticket fielded by the All Progressive Congress, APC, presidential flag bearer Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. As a group under the aegis of progressive Christian clerics, Northwest Zone said Christian faith encourages brotherliness, hence their decision to support the Tinubu Shetima ticket. According to the statement, the group noted that Nigeria is collapsing and needs leaders with proven track record of performance that are adequately equipped to fight the threat by insurgency with all seriousness. We need committed leaders with the capacity to deliver on campaign promises without excuses once elected. Now, and I quote in them, says, these among several reasons are why we disagree with Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, and other churches kicking against the issue of Muslim tickets. Now, the group, however, pointed out that though Nigeria is a cosmopolitan state with a multi-ethnic and religious diversity, it is high time we begin to speak about leadership on the basis of merit, competence, experience, and record of performance in choice of who leads across all the tiers of government, while stating that Tinubu governed Lagos for 8 years and Shetima governed Borno for same period of years. It said the records of their exemplary leadership in the area of religious tolerance, economic development, and other indices of development are in the public domain. Gentlemen, there's another issue affecting us. It has been making the rounds in our news lately. And last time we brought you here, we talked about 29 years after the June 12 issues that Tinubu has gone to resurrect it in Nigeria today, resurrecting the spirit of June 12. First, what do you make of the this Christian Association of the Christian clerics in the northern part of Nigeria saying that they are in support of the Muslim ticket, stating their reasons why they are in support, talking about competence, equity, and the rest of the issues they have raised right now? Dr. Kiri Joe.
Thank you very much. That is a very good news to me, because the Christian Association of Nigeria was heightening, causing tension in the country over this. To me, they had fallen already into the hand of the darkness, who now use them to cause trouble in this country. The same Bible they read, they hold, was said in Acts of the Apostles that we cannot abandon the preaching of the word to serve table. Here we are, that organ is serving the table.
Are you sure? But some of them said that they are protecting the rights
Leave that. When you join into politics, what is the definition of politics? Harold Laus, something define politics as who gets what, where, and when. And so when you leave the preach, your business is preaching, to now join into this, we want to put somebody who we allocate to us and all, that is politics. And they've even gone further to attack. All right, some people said, okay, we will go to the unveiling. Oh, it became an issue in camp. Oh, they did not dress well. Oh, they are not the real people. Hatred and envy has entered into this thing. For a Christian, a group that calls themselves the people to propagate the will of the Almighty. Now, if, for example, it is the will of the Almighty that Tinubu will win election, that is his destiny with God, do they not see themselves as people marked out to fight against the will of God in the manifestation of his will on a people?
All right.
Now look, let me say also that the overemphasis on the executive is breeding a Leviathan in the Nigerian politics. Now, they should also be told that government does not start and end with executive. A very strong executive, as it is being pardoned, and a weak parliament does not guarantee. Yes. For me, I would have told them, okay, Muslim ticket. It's all right. Let us also look at those people who did not have Muslim ticket. Let us encourage a strong legislative arm, like in the United States. When they will know that the Democratic Party is coming up, may win, the alternative is to make a strong majority of the other party on the Congress to reduce the overwhelming power of this. But all of us have focused on executive and weakening the legislature. It's not the right way to go.
All right, thank you, Dr. Joe. Okay, I want to hear from you, James Johansson. You've been a promulgator of a Christian-Muslim ticket and a Muslim-Christian ticket, and it should be balanced right now. But here we have the northern Christian leaders have come to throw their weight behind a Muslim ticket, saying that it's not really should be an issue. We know that some clerics have also said that Christianity or religion should be kept out of politics. What's your take on this matter on ground?
Well, you see, one, established that Nigeria is a heterogeneous society. We have over 250 ethnic groups with multi-language and multi-dialects. And that Nigeria also practices federalism. And federalism too, in terms of the executive type of practice in Nigeria, we have the presidentialism, called presidential system of government. Presidentialism simply means a combination of the ceremonial powers with that of the real executive powers in one person. That's what we call it monocephalous executive. And given the Nigerian constitution, we discovered that the powers are so much embellished and loaded on the executive that the musical capacities of the executive could be exercised to this extent that it becomes much more authoritative, autocratic in nature. So when the executive like that wastes such heavy level of power, then people would always want to know who and who, the kind of personality that occupies such position. Now, over the time, just like what we have said, June 12 issue, spirit have been resurrected or rejuvenated. Why? Because of the federal character. We talk about federal character. We talk about the peculiar nature, the composition of Nigerian ethnicity. And Nigeria, for crying loud sake, is a secular state. It's a secular state. So we must give, that kind of expression, both constitutionally and our activities, activities that we carry on. So now that I have been one of the advocates that it shouldn't be Muslim ticket. Why? The sensibilities of others should be listed. Like now, look at the argument they are saying. They use a comparison of a state of 8 years administration of the Lagos one and that of the Borno state. To now come and compare it in terms of one capability and capacity to rule other states. To some extent, they may stand. With due sense of respect, sir, he's a political scientist. But I want to tell you one thing. That one, when you put leadership on a scale, and weigh leadership. Everything in life rises and falls on the basis of leadership. And today, I remember some argument that went on sometime. If we look at it, yes, he came up and set up Lagos, but I had also wanted to call people's attention to it. Before the emergence of BAT, Lagos was the second capital after Lagos. So there were peripheral and concentrated federal government projects and development already in those lands. Are you coming to tell me that those infrastructural benefits that were accrued, were having accrual effects to the government are done by him? No. So what we should look at it, we look at the person, look at the nature of the society, and look at how we can have a situation of inclusiveness. The reason why people are advocating for the Muslim-Christian ticket or Christian-Muslim ticket is because of the nature of Nigeria now, the volatility of Nigerian society. We need inclusiveness. Let us not forget that the particular set of people in one particular religion are the people that are troubling this nation now. So anything you want to do, there must be checks and balances, and they are not crying for issue of checks and what? Balances. So without that being done, now I ask a simple question. You know that it's very rare for you to see a Muslim going to the church. Now, if the federal government or there's a national ceremony or celebration or national festival or whatever, and then it requires somebody at that top level to represent, what now happens? What now happens? That's why that issue of balancing is there. So I am one of the persons. Listen to me very carefully, because you see, just like what he said, what if they are fighting against the will of God? Let me tell you one thing. If you put the whole paraphernalia on the ground and everything is put straight on the ground, adapt. Because one, people are beginning to look at the individual personalities that are flag bearers of these political parties. As a matter of fact, if we should go by what happened previously, since 1990 today, these two parties should not even be given expression at all. They should not be given expression if we should follow by it. But now what we are looking at the individual personalities. So I am here to establish that for sense of inclusiveness, for our people's sensibilities to be reckoned with, that there should be a balancing. Why then did Buhari not accept, our president, why did he not accept in 2015 the Muslim ticket? Why was he ignored? Because it has to be a kind of inclusiveness that must carry on the nation. Now, if you come to this level and I say that the Christian community in the north are now supporting the Muslim ticket, what is the proportion of those number of persons? 2, what are the calibers that say such? 3, let me tell you one thing, whether you like it or not, the reason of an umbrella is a pressure group. A pressure group is tend not to capture political power, but tend to influence. So it's important the voices of the pressure group must always be given. So Christians, whatever, whether it's other Muslim, whether it's other Christianity, whether it's other African traditional religion, have right to pressurize to determine how issues should be. Okay. Because the issue of government should not be left only in the hand of one person, because it will lead to more tyranny.
So, just to add one thing,
okay,
just
go ahead, sir.
Like he just said, how strong, how many of them in the north? I don't understand.
Okay.
This is what the Asiwaju may have considered. He is from a minority religious group from the south. Now, if you say, let me fulfill the aspiration so that I will just have a Christian representative, he will fail woefully. This is strategy.
Why do you think so?
Democracy's number.
Are you saying that there is no Christian in the
No, if you, okay, for example, you now go to
Lalong.
How many Christians in the north are there? Okay. Just as he said.
I'll come to you. I want him to land.
This is,
I want him to land. Let him land.
Please, this is not.
Okay, go ahead.
This is not. This is strategy. I don't understand. Here in the south, you have a Christian Labour president. You have a Christian vice presidential candidate for PDP. Automatically, these people will share the Christian population. Now, he is a Muslim minority. He has to go for the Muslim majority to be able to win election. When election is won, it is already written in our constitution. No person, no administration can overlook. And in fact, this emphasis on Christian. What of the Juju people, the non-Christian, non-Muslim group? Are they not? They don't have right? Yet they will vote.
So are you saying that there are no Christian northerner that can really give him that vote?
No, there are Christian northerner, but the number is small.
That is what I wanted to tell
you. Okay, go ahead.
The number is small in the north.
With this sense of respect and honor, this argument, the argument of my colleague at the studio will not stand. Because one, it is not only APC that are going to contest for that election in 2023. PDP had involved their own candidates, and it's a core Hausa Fulani man. And so already the vote of that majority is thinking that Tinubu will be able to use Muslim ticket to capture it. It's not possible again. And don't forget NPP, which is under the leadership of galvanizing leadership of Papanso now, is another strong youthful force in the north. That one is going to also cut away the majority or nearly the majority of, let me use the word nearly almost the majority of the Muslim in the north. So what are you talking about? See, it does not stand. See, it would have been rather better for him even to have the balancing of the Christian ticket, so they will be able to have little state party from the Muslim community and one of the Christian community. Can I tell you something? Anybody who tells you that religion does not matter in politics is a lie, because man is a moral being.
Okay. Now
let me just it's an advice.
Okay.
My Christian brother should not take this in too far. For example, there are information now. If you don't have the card, you won't come they won't allow you to get to go and worship.
Which card? The PVC?
Yes.
Okay.
That if you don't have the card, you will not participate in a Holy Communion. This is a matter taken too far. They should mellow down. That is my advice to them.
The card, well, I'm still here to find out if this is true concerning the Holy Communion thing.
Yes. Excuse me.
Okay.
But what I want to say is this. That is not excuse. With this respect, they have taken it too far, yes. but they're not promoting their sentiments, but are promoting the national sentiment. In other words, to make people more political than being apolitical. So we should see it as promoting democratic tenets, much more than what we should view it as parochial, or maybe take it too far. So take it too far because one, people have shown nonchalancy. That level of apathy over the time in the voting system of Nigeria had always been there. So now people are exploring other measures through which they could spur up people to vote. So if that is being done, we should look at that for national interest than individual or maybe sacred group interests.
Dr. Ikiri, do you also buy into that?
No, now. See, religion has to do with free will. And that is also what is also pressed in politics. You know, the American Constitution will tell you from the preamble, we know this as a right and as a true thing, that man is born free with a will, that everything he does must come from the will. No one need to be coerced. I'm interpreting. I'm not reading the
verbatim.
Yes. Now, when you now say you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't in matters. Meanwhile, your leaders are going nakedumously in the night, going to these leaders. Look, oh, we have a block vote. Do this. Tell us who will be your minister, who will be this, who will be that. It's not. There's no truth in all these things. They should mellow down.
Do you really have facts to substantiate that the leaders?
Please, is there in the space?
Can I also add for purpose of this discussion? Now, you look at it. We have seen on the social media where certain Christians went out to vote, to do the registration. Then these boys from the last faith mobilized against them, beat them, and they all ran.
Which faith are you talking about?
I'm talking about all the Muslim brothers and sisters.
Is there proof to this?
On social media, that's what I'm telling you.
On social media, but it's not verified.
Yes, it's not verified here. You cannot verify it
here.
But
they also showed us their pictures like in Dubai estate in Abuja and so forth, where those things happen. Now, I'd like to tell you this, please, may we settle this matter. The man is created in the image and after the likeness of God. If God is moral, man therefore is moral.
All right.
Two, man is created in the plane of ideas. We should talk about the will. The will is an individualistic term. But somehow, man operating within a group, that will to some extent is solid that is a politician, is a political scientist, so you should be able to know that whenever I belong to a group, that's going to be a subservient of my will to allow a holistic goal. That's why this organization, you have your own will. There are certain things that you might not like it done the way it is being done. But because you belong to a organizational system, then you must always have that constraint upon the exercise of your will. But in this case, that what is advising, I want to say that let every person, he might be a traditional law, in his capacity also as a lecturer, as a politician, as a legal practitioner, he should be able also to look at means and ways to stimulate those apathetical humans who don't want to participate in the Nigerian electoral process, whether they like it or not. The decision of the few or the majority minus you who have become apathetical must always, your interest must always be affected.
So I want to ask you, do you think if religion is kept out of politics, we'll have a better country or better leadership in Nigeria?
Now, when you say if religion is kept out of politics, first of all, remove the man, remove the religion. But if the man is there in politics, religion must always be there.
How?
Because, get it right. I said if you want religion to be taken out of politics,
okay,
first, remove the man. Who is that moral being? Human, is man. Who is that political being? Man. Once you remove that man out of the cycle, then you've taken the religion. But in as much as, because one, okay, let me ask you a question. What must dress your action? Your conscience. Golden conscience in you. Well, the next thing again, why do you decide what is right and what is wrong? Why is law being made? Law is meant to regulate the activities, the actions of man. Okay, because where my right begins and ends is the beginning of your right. How is it being defined? Defined in relation, it's a relational factor. So if it's a relational factor, I must think of what is right and what is wrong. Why is it that there's morality now say that the APC is not performing well in Nigeria? Is it not issue of morality?
No. Just to answer your question, just simply.
Okay.
Remove religion out of Nigerian politics. You see that real Nigeria. Religion will be replaced immediately by nationalism and patriotism. Religion, we see that Nigerian that Nigerian that being your neighbor's keeper. Have you not been flying? You are on the air in an aeroplane. Do you ask, is that man flying us, the pilot, a Muslim? Therefore, I will not enter. We fly together. We want to see a Nigeria as it was before. That when you go, the time I went to the north, I had no place to sleep. I went knocked. This is where I'm coming from, and the motor got here very late. Please, can you help? Oh, come. You are our brother. Prepare the room. And I slept till the next day. These people are heightening, they are spoiling this country in the name of religion. And I'm sure God in heaven want to make a statement. They will soon hear it. They will soon hear it.
The reason why the legislation is going on is because a particular set of religion have become troublesome and terrorizing the side, the personalities, the communal settings of the people. That's why this is
so they say that there is an extremist. It's not people who perpetrate that particular religion.
Okay.
That's what they say.
You may put up a defense, but if you want it, that's what I'm telling you. That's why if you look critically at what I said, take the man out of the scene. Take the man out of the scene, you take religion. Take the man out of the scene, you take politics. Because everything rises and falls on the basis of your mindset. That's all. So what I want to say that, like what he said, I've been privileged to school in the north. I served also in the north. I knew how cool and how accommodating those environments were those days. But now it's no more so. The same person is talking now. Try not to go there now. That very area you are making reference to, and see whether this kind of accommodation will be given to you. You will go a primary suspect because of the scene now on the ground. So it's no longer obtainable, sir. So we need to have the reaching of see how far. You talk about nationalism. Who brought education to us? The first set of people that settled their feet on this continent were the Portuguese explorers. What was the reason? They get to discover the other regions. Soon followed by what? That's the missionaries came. After which you look at it, what is it that they're arguing for? What are they arguing for? They came. We talk about him. He's a political scientist. Has he not heard of colonialism, imperialism? Who are those people? What faith are they practicing? If you're telling that if such will not persist, if it persists, what I want to say is that when you are a religious man, try to be very objective and fair, and that's what we're looking for. That's the argument you're going to.
All right, Mr. Joey Curry, last words on this before we move over. Lastly, on the rest of the matter, because our time is really fast spent.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I have said that the application of religion to what should not have been is the problem of this. Can Christian Association of Nigeria. You will recall that Muammar Gaddafi came to this country some years ago. After going around, he said, Nigeria should be divided along religious lines. South for the Christian, north for the Muslim. The first group of people that castigated Gaddafi were this Khan. Why must he come to? We don't preach religion. Religion is not always in the forefront. We are a secular state. We are this. In politics, we don't put religion. If you go to the archives, you will see the statement made by this Christian association. Why has it come to this politics? And they are spoiling this thing. Please, they should not be consistently inconsistent.
Okay.
Well,
excuse me, one more. Let me add on something.
No, please don't. Our time is going on.
Our time is going. Yes. Now, establish this fact. Yeah, let us put it across to
no, after now.
Now, the same law you are referring to, Nigeria is a secular state, but they have Sharia laws just are positionally existing with the national laws.
Yes.
So what will you say about that? So it means that not by implication is already to some extent a Muslim state or Muslim states.
No.
Now, excuse me.
He has doubled into.
He's a practitioner.
Yes. Because as long as Sharia law does this,
he's doubling into an area he does not have the facts.
No.
Okay, maybe you give us the facts. Maybe allow him land.
Sharia laws. Yes.
See, Sharia laws exist in the north. and in states in the north that voluntarily receive it. And if, for example, you are a Christian and you are arrested for a crime in there, the law permits that. Okay, you have a choice. If you don't want to be tried on the Sharia law, you will not be tried there. You will be tried on the criminal. Yes, I understand. So there is nothing. The thing does not affect any person against any person's will. I understand. Okay, that is why. Wait now. That is why also, in consonance with that, we have our own. What do you call this? Customary courts. Yeah. It's just like so you have the customary courts here alongside our laws. Yes. I just want so that people will understand. I don't want to be too pedantic about these issues. We have the customary court or customary laws, so that if any Hausa man, also come to this place and is arrested for any crime, he may not be tried. He cannot be tried on our customary law that exists here. So if you put pressure, custom Sharia there, this, that, it is just one and the same thing, one side of the same coin.
All right, James Hansen, I want to ask you now. Remember that Khan said that those people who appeared, the clerics who appeared at the unveiling of Shetima, should be able to identify one. If you can identify one, I'll tell you that these are members of Khan, or these are people, clerics you can really talk about. And also the APC said that these are upcoming clerics. Another development has it that the clerics who came or appeared at Shetima's unveiling said they have certificates of their ordination. What's your take on this?
Well, you see, yesterday one bishop went on a demonstration publicly, saying that one of his pastors, I never did go to this level, I would have come with that name, that who was one of the members of the delegate, one of the delegates, there was not a bishop, but just a pastor under him who has served for close to 11 years. And then they went and hired him and gave him the bishopric garment. No, people started asking questions, because if you look at a Catholic church as being orthodox and historical, because the first one by religious classification, the other orthodox and historical church, a reverend father can never wear cassock outside. And that in this case, we saw people who wore that cassock, which of course brings us to a place of question mark. Then now, we are not going to talk about them. I also listened to a local radio station here, the local radio station aired, and was saying that, look, there was a counter statement that being made by one of them over there. Okay? Now the question now is, they are trying to balance up opinion about it, but the truth of the matter is that there is a foul game played on at the background. Now, if you look at it critically, as you are now bringing to Pierre, I'm telling you, because why is it that the politician, him that's talk about religion, we are talking about religion, all of us talking about. Okay. Or every politician is also talking about religion, because they know that to some extent they can use religious faith to persuade the voters to have sympathy for them to vote. Okay? So this is there. So you should know that these things are going on, this issue of religions.
There is, well, just to add, that even in the Can, has there been any unity? We have the Pentecostal PFM. We have those who said they are not up to. Allow these people to do their own thing.
That the oncoming
let's
bishops
go.
They claim the certificate, they should verify, because I told
They should not verify anything.
They should verify. If they want to prove their onions, they should verify it. One, I told you there is no bishop that exists in this country that does not belong to the College of Bishops. So we should be able to identify them by the College of Bishops. They belong.
What of those who don't want to be bishop? They want to be reverend. They want to be ordinary
Okay,
pastors.
if you want to be a reverend, you wouldn't wear a bishop. That's high level of discretion.
There are some people who wear it, say it is their own.
That attire, they don't wear it in such ceremony.
They don't wear it in such
No,
ceremony.
but they said, look, that is their own law. It's a cloth I bought that I can wear it anywhere. Leave that thing.
Well, excuse sir, can you not take a dorm, academic dorm, okay, that is meant for a professor? You now say it's a personal, you wear it, and then begin to demonstrate about what do you do?
Well, academic dorm are used for. They have done procession. They have done procession for. See, they have done procession for.
Well, gentlemen, I'm afraid our time is fast spent. Wonderful discussions I've really had. If you enjoyed us, this is open conversation. I'm afraid we're really run out of time here today. It's facts about politics and unrestricted viewpoints that we have. I've been speaking with a doctor of political science, a legal practitioner, a journalist, and a political and public affairs analyst, Dr. Ikiri Joe Abraham, Esquire. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
All right, next I really want to thank is the political observer and analyst, national coordinator, Polish of Nigeria, also blockchain analyst, also human capital developer, and mentoral leader in entrepreneurial development, keen observer of politics and the analysis that follow a long line, also lover of the gospel of Jesus Christ. James Johansson, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, I really want to thank you, and also those who have been making comments on our social media handles. Thank you so much. We want to thank our Facebook subscribers also. We've hit over 10,000 subscriptions here today. So thank you so much for following us on all our social media handles. On Twitter at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. Remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. My name is Namdi Uzuko. God willing, I'll be with you tomorrow. Have a wonderful
But I remain committed to the United Kingdom leaving.
Since I became Prime Minister, I've said we must get on and get Brexit done on October the 31st so that this country can move on.